The 9/11 Heroes Run is a nationwide 5K race series which brings communities together to honor those that were lost on September 11th, 2001. Today, I talk one-on-one with the Charleston event director, Theresa Faircloth, for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Theresa Faircloth, welcome to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I know that you are obviously the event director for the upcoming 9/11 Heroes Run here in Charleston. And the 9/11 Heroes Run unites communities internationally with the goal to never forget the sacrifices of the heroes of September 11th and the war since. Veteran, first responder, civilian, and of course, military. How is the Charleston community uniting with the communities internationally 20 years later?
So each year we host this 9/11 Heroes Run here in Charleston on Daniel Island. And it is, like you said, part of a nationwide 5K race series where we do bring the community together to honor those that we lost on 9/11, the families that are still impacted by those losses, and also say thank you to our men and women in uniform. And it is one day that we just tell everybody, come out and be a part of something that's very patriotic, very emotional, very humbling. And we just bring that community together just for a sense of kind of the same feeling that we all had on September 11th and September 12th, that unity. So I think that that is something that's very important as we lead up to the anniversary of 9/11.
And personally, I was in high school, probably in junior high school, when the September 11th attacks happened. Where were you on September 11th, 2001?
So I was in high school myself, and I was actually in a world history class when the news came across about the towers being hit. And I remember, even as a teenager, watching my world history teacher just sit there in silence, and he just started crying. And to see, at that age, to see a grown man very visibly upset and speechless, it was definitely something that you'll never forget. But at the time, being a young teenager and not having any personal relation to anybody in New York or Shanksville or at the Pentagon, I didn't fully grasp, the severity of what was going on. And I wasn't personally impacted. So it was hard to kind of make it that personal connection. And that is part of why I decided, that now that I'm an adult and I have a deeper respect and appreciation for what happened that day, for the men and women that stepped up and went into those buildings while everybody else was running out. That's part of what motivates me to do the 9/11 Heroes Run, because now as an adult with children, I'm also a first responder family. It's taken on a different meaning for me of what those families must have gone through and the impact that it had on our country.
And what is that deeper understanding of this tragedy?
So, as I mentioned, I'm a first responder family, and one of the things that really makes it very personal for me is to think about what those families that were sitting at home watching on TV must have felt like, knowing that their loved one who went to work that day after putting on their uniform, to know that their loved ones were running into harm's way and risking their lives with the likelihood that something very, very upsetting could happen to them, that they may not make it back home. And then to imagine what it must have felt like for them to be sitting there for, hours and days, just waiting for a phone call, waiting for that loved one to come home, and just the unimaginable grief that those families must have felt when their loved one never made it back home. So for me, now that I've got children and I think about, the fact that their father is a first responder and what that must have felt like for those families. And it's not only about the first responders of 9/11, of course, it's about all of those families that waited for somebody to walk through the door and they never came back. So I just can't imagine being in that type of a situation. And so for me, I feel like I may not have understood it or grasped it at the time as a teenager, but now I'm doing my part to make sure that we are educating our youth and having these conversations with them and and really teaching them about 9/11 and the impact that it had, and our men and women in uniform that stepped up to serve that day.
And how are you educating them?
So we have guests of honor that come and speak at the opening ceremonies at our race that talk to them about 9/11. They talk to everybody in attendance about 9/11, about someone that they lost that day. They share their personal stories, their personal connections about what happened. We've had different guests of honor over the years who were 9/11 first responders that have described what it was like that day and for the days and weeks and months to follow as they, searched through the pile. So I think for our youth that are learning about 9/11 through these textbooks, they're not going to have that personal connection the same way that I didn't. And I feel like for them to see someone in uniform standing up there a lot of times in tears, describing what they witnessed that day, or somebody that they lost that day, or even somebody that they lost through a deployment that went and served our country after 9/11, I think that really makes an impact on our youth. And then we allow parents to start that conversation with their children about, okay, so how did you feel when you heard those stories? And let me talk to you about where I was on 9/11, and kind of just open that door to really explaining to them what all has happened that day and what's happened in the 20 years since.
And what is the biggest difference, Theresa, from 20 years ago to right now?
Personally, I feel like the biggest difference between 20 years ago and where we are today was, if you think back to 9/11 and September 12th, you saw everyone pull out their American flags. It didn't matter race, religion, social status. It didn't matter what neighborhood you grew up in, what your job was, what your political stance was. Everyone put their American flag out. They proudly wore the red, white, and blue. They united together to help their neighbor, to help their community. It gave everybody that passion of wanting to do something, wanting to be a patriot. And I feel like that is the biggest difference that I have seen from where we are now, 20 years later, to where we were on September 12th. And it's unfortunate, and I just wish that we were in a position where we could remember how we all felt on September 11th, how we felt on September 12th, and find a way to unite together again and be Americans. So that is one thing that I'm hoping as we lead up to the anniversary of 9/11, that people remember that sense of unity, because there is so much there's so much negative in this world right now. And I feel like when you look and see the things that are happening, like what has happened in the last week in Afghanistan, the 13 American heroes that just paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country, I'm hoping that we as Americans can feel that sense of unity again and step up, honor those that we've lost, honor those that have served our country, and those that have laid their lives on the line to do so.
And speaking of stepping back, when you look at the 9/11 Heroes Run for Charleston from 10 years ago to right now, what still plays in your mind, Theresa?
So when I look back over the last 10 years, I have this sense of pride, because the first year when we put together this 5K in Charleston, I've only participated in 2 5Ks in my entire life, so I'm far from a runner, and I had zero experience at how to plan and execute a 5K. But the Travis Mannion Foundation really stepped up and kind of pointed me in the right direction. And our first year, we did the best we could to throw together a 5K. We had just over 200 participants that year, and now our event has grown significantly, 10 years later. Our record registration in 2019 was over 1,300 people that were out there on race day. That's just for our runners and our walkers. And of course, we've got sponsors. We had 250 volunteers and spectators. So when I look back and think about the crowd that we had in attendance that first year, when we were just kind of scrambling to figure it out, and I see the community partnerships that we've developed with our sponsors over the years, the support that we've gotten from the community, the first responder community, and the stories that we've heard over the last 10 years about people that participate in our event and why it's so meaningful to them. When they come to Packet Pickup, they share their story about 9/11. if they were there that day, if they've got a loved one that's deployed right now. Those kinds of things, the more stories that you hear about that, those kinds of personal connections over 10 years, that has had a huge, profound impact on our team. And that's kind of the motivation we need this time of year to keep going, keep pushing through those sleepless nights, and pull the community together for race morning.
And I know that you all said that the opening ceremonies on the day of the run is a heartfelt message. And I know that's what you told Brad Franco of News 2 just recently. Let me ask you a redundant question. What is this year's message?
So this year's message is very similar to every other year. We want the community to take a couple of hours for one morning to join together and honor those that we lost now 20 years ago. This is the 20th anniversary of 9/11. It's hard to believe it's been 20 years. It's our 10th year doing this race in Charleston, so that's a big milestone for us as well. And for the first time ever, our Charleston race will actually fall on 9/11. So that's obviously a very significant, special meaning for us. And I think that our message that we want to get out to people is we want people to have that sense of pride and patriotism each and every day. We want them to always have a deep admiration and respect and appreciation for those that serve. And the best way that we can do that is put on this 5K each year, bring them out there, let them be a part of those opening ceremonies with the bagpipers, the national anthem. We've got our guests of honor, which we've got 2 guests of honor this year, one of which is actually Ryan Mannion, who is the sister of First Lieutenant Travis Mannion, who gave his life for our country, and she's the president of the Travis Mannion Foundation. So she's actually flying into Charleston for our race for the first time ever. So the pressure is on to make her and her family proud. And she'll be speaking about Travis. She'll be speaking about the 13 servicemen and women that we just lost a week ago today, and the impact that has on our veteran community, on our country. And then we've also got Jessica Ross, who serves on our board of directors, and she lost her brother, Christopher Amoroso, on 9/11. He worked with the Port Authority. So she'll be sharing Chris's story and his legacy during the opening ceremonies as well. So we encourage people to come out and hear those personal stories of service and sacrifice, and remember that there are men and women all over this country, whether they be military or first responder, that put on that uniform each and every day and take that risk knowing they may not make it back home to their families. So we want them to feel appreciated and come out there and thank somebody in uniform.
Absolutely. Speaking of communities, let me ask you, why Daniel Island? Why the 9/11 Heroes Run?
So the 9/11 Heroes Run, part of how I got involved with that, I saw some pictures posted from a friend of mine who I went to high school with, and she had since moved to San Diego, and this was in September of 2011. I saw the picture she posted of a 9/11 Heroes Run that was held in San Diego, and there were American flags everywhere, and you saw firefighters and police officers participating in this 5K. And I told her, we need something like that here in Charleston. We've got a strong military community, strong support for our first responders. So we need something like that here. And she said, well, someone has to step up and offer to do that. So she sent me some information about the Travis Mannion Foundation, which is our hosting 501c3 nonprofit. And I started looking and reading into Travis's story and the words that he said before he left for his second tour of duty, where he gave his life. He went to a Philadelphia Eagles football game with his brother-in-law, and his brother-in-law said, Travis, let me push you down these stairs, and then you'll be injured, and you will not be able to go for that second tour. You've already done your time. And Travis got very serious and said, if I don't go, somebody much less prepared will go in my place. So if not me, then who? And that message really stuck with me. And so even though I had no experience with how to put on a 5K, I asked myself, if not me, then who? And I said, let's do what we can to bring this event here to Charleston. So we did that starting 2012. We had our first race here. And one of the things that I love about the 9/11 Heroes Run is not only does it benefit the Travis Mannion Foundation and the programs that we have on a nationwide scale to support our veteran community, our Gold Star families, and also inspire our future generation of leaders. But in addition to that, we also donate proceeds locally with local first responders right here in our community. And those funds are used to help purchase additional life-saving equipment. So that is one of the driving forces behind why we do this race every year. We want to be able to support our local first responders and give them funds to get that equipment they otherwise might not have access to. So that is why I chose to partner with the Travis Mannion Foundation, bring that 9/11 Heroes Run right here to Daniel Island. And the Daniel Island community, they're a very patriotic, proud American community. So the support that we've gotten from the Daniel Island community over the years has been amazing, and we love working with them. And it's a beautiful backdrop. Our start and finish line is right in front of the fire station, and our actual start and finish line is a huge American flag that's being held up by two, fire trucks. So it's just the perfect backdrop and reminder of what this event is all about.
And let me just stop you right there to start and finish. So let's talk about the 5K course. It's obviously 3.1 miles. Where does it, obviously, from where it starts to where it goes, what is the actual race route?
So you'll start and finish right in front of the fire station on Daniel Island, which is kind of the heart of Daniel Island. And then from there, participants, as soon as we start the race, they're going to run through what we call our honor tunnel of Citadel cadets and other local ROTC from local high schools and different military members from different bases here in Charleston. They will run through this tunnel of American flags, and then they'll actually go right onto River Landing, and then they'll come back, they'll pass the fire station again, then they'll go down Daniel Island Drive, and we've got a U-turn point down there to send them right back to the fire station where they started. So it's kind of like a U, but you start and finish in the bottom of the U. But we definitely think it's a significant start and finish line when you are finishing out right there in front of the fire and police station.
Absolutely. And I know this might be another redundant question coming up, but obviously the 9/11 Heroes Run 5K for Charleston welcomes runners, ruckers, and walkers of all levels and all ages. You obviously welcome them, but what type of experience will they enjoy?
So we've got, each year we have varying, different participants of different experience levels. We've got the diehard runners that do every 5K, 10K, dirt dash, marathon that comes to Charleston. So those will be lined up in the very front. Usually right in front of them, we've got a crowd of kids that, they want to start the race really strong and be right there front and center. And then we've got families that come out there and push a stroller. And to them, it's not about what time they cross the finish line. It's about being a part of something special like this, something patriotic and sentimental and very humbling, and supporting our local first responder community. So, like I said, we have a beautiful race course that actually heads to the water. There's beautiful views. It's flat. You don't have to go through any dirt. We're not going to throw anything on you at the finish line. But I think for our participants, whether you're going to finish the 5K in 15 minutes or in 45, it's really more about the humbling experience that you take home with you that day, to see that you are doing this 5K right alongside a local first responder, a local firefighter in their turnout gear. We've got SWAT members from local law enforcement that participate in their SWAT gear. We've got local canine officers that bring their canines to do the 5K. And just the overall feeling of, pride and patriotism that you get that morning. We've got, we'll have different first responder vehicles. Of course, the kids always love that. They want to climb up in the SWAT truck. And I think that that's a good opportunity to engage with our local first responder community, to let our little ones, see their real life heroes right alongside them. One of our favorite parts of our 9/11 Heroes Run that we get a ton of compliments on each year is, as participants are finishing, we have a lot of the Citadel cadets that have those flags that kind of break off of formation, and they come through the last little stretch of the 5K, and they run alongside you, and they're motivating you. They're like, let's go, you've got this, finish strong. They're running alongside our little kids that are out there, and it gives everybody that, that sense of, I've got this, I can do this, this is what this is about, running along somebody in uniform. So the feeling is just hard to describe. It's definitely something that everybody would want to be a part of. And it's not just that we're trying to get people to run or walk. You know, we need volunteers. If a 5K is not your thing, but you want to be a part of it, we would love to have your help on race morning. We will put you to work. It's nothing strenuous. There's no heavy lifting. It could be something as simple as handing out water or encouraging runners along the race route. So if a 5K is not your cup of tea, we definitely still have a role for how you can get involved.
That is amazing. And speaking of handing out water, with COVID, will there be smaller corrals and more spacing at the race route? On the race route?
So what we're going to do is we are putting out some literature to all of our race participants suggesting that they be mindful of social distancing. Of course, we also have a list of, if you have experienced any of these symptoms in the last 14 days, we kindly ask that you stay home. We will mail you your race packet and you could do our race virtually because we want to, of course, think about the health and safety of our entire community. But we're going to be encouraging participants and spectators to bring a mask, to wear it when possible. We won't be requiring that people wear their mask while they're doing the 5K. For obvious reasons, it's September in Charleston, right. So we know with the humidity and the heat. But we will encourage you to mask up when you're not participating and just be mindful. Wash your hands. You can bring some hand sanitizer. We'll have some there at the event for you. And we'll make sure that we're doing the best we can to try to mitigate as much close contact as possible throughout our sponsor village. And then also, just being mindful and making announcements about, hey, make sure you're cautious. And like I said, we'll be posting on our social media, our website, and sending out emails to everybody saying, if you have experienced any of these things, we want to look out for, like I said, the health and safety of the entire community. So we'll put that out there too.
Yes, ma'am. And let me ask you this. For somebody who's not on Daniel Island and is obviously driving to Daniel Island, what streets or other roads will be open and closed?
So the only streets that will be closed down at all for our event would be Seven Farms Drive, River Landing, and then portions of Daniel Island Drive. So what we do is right immediately in front of the fire station on Daniel Island, we close down about a block from the intersection of River Landing and Seven Farms to just past the fire station. That's going to be closed from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. So that's the longest road closure that we'll have. And then River Landing will be shut down at 8:55 a.m. and it will open back up about 9:25 once the last participant is off of that stretch of the course. And then Daniel Island Drive will be shut down from 9 a.m. until about 9:30, 9:40, just depending again on how long it takes, our last participant to clear that roadway. So it will be temporary road closures. We'll have Charleston Police Department will be out there helping assist with, alternate routes, rerouting people as they come to those intersections. We definitely we've sent out notices through the Daniel Island News. We've also gone door to door, given a road closure notice to anybody that's a business or resident along the race route so that they're aware. But with having our event out there for 10 years now, people are pretty used to us taking over the streets that morning. It's a short amount of time. Like I said, the longest road closure is 2 hours, and that's a very short, block just so that we can get everything set up for the start-finish line and our opening ceremonies. But we encourage people as they may approach one of these road closures or intersections where it's closed off to just remember what this event is all about. And it's about honoring those that we lost on 9/11, the families that have forever been impacted by that. And to them, 9/11 is not just one day. It's not just a one-day tragedy. It's a loss that their family feels forever. And, also to thank our military and our first responders, our men and women in uniform. So if you happen to come across a roadblock that morning, we just encourage you to remember what this is all about. And honestly, my best advice would be if you live on Daniel Island or you're going to be traveling to Daniel Island that day, how about just come and be a part of the event? Then you don't have to worry about it.
There you go. Absolutely. And speaking of obviously race participants, how do participants know if they're actually registered for this race?
So we have our registration website. They could go to 911heroesrun.org/Charleston. There's a register now button on there. There's also a button that says see if you're registered. So if somebody registered maybe when registration first opened and they're not sure if they signed their daughter up or what have you, there's an option on there to where you can look to make sure that you're registered. If not, registration will remain open online through midnight September 9th. Then we'll also do in-person walk-up registration the day before the run, which is September 10th. We'll do that from 10 to 6 out there in the loop next to the fire station on Daniel Island. And then we'll also do that again beginning race morning at 6:30 in the morning. So there's plenty of time to still register. That's also the same website that you'll go to if you want to register as a volunteer. And like I said, volunteer roles are very easy. It's more so just about donating your time. And we'll have, if you're available early in the morning, September 11th, we've got different arrival times depending on what your job that you are assigned to. But that kind of varies between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. And you'll be done and out of there by 11. So it's easy but rewarding work that morning. And like I said, if you want to support the 5K, even if you've got plans that day, you're not required to physically be there. But by registering as a 5K participant, you are supporting the Travis Mannion Foundation. Like I said, our veterans, our Gold Star families, but you're also supporting local first responders right here at home. And this year, the responders that we have partnered with is Somerville Police Department. So by registering for that 5K, like I said, if you can be there or not, you'll still get your t-shirt, you'll get your race swag, and you're also supporting our local men and women in uniform. So what better thing to support than to say thank you for those that serve and make sure they've got the best equipment possible to do so.
And quickly, what is the website?
You can go to 911heroesrun.org/Charleston. So that's 911HEROES run.org/Charleston. You can also follow us on Facebook. We've got a Facebook page, 911 Heroes Run Charleston. And I think one of the things that we want the community to remember, going back to what I said about supporting your local first responders, in the last 9 years, our event, our 911 Heroes Run right here in Charleston on Daniel Island, has donated over $152,000 back to our local men and women in uniform. So if you think about it, that's over $150,000 worth of life-saving equipment that we have put in the hands of our local heroes. And in order to be able to continue to do that, we need the community's support. So we encourage them, go online, get signed up for the 5K. Like I said, even if you've got plans, you can still come and get your shirt from Packet Pickup. And we don't expect you to go home and do the 5K. It's more about supporting the cause, supporting our men and women in uniform, and making sure that we never forget what happened on 9/11.
And will the 5K and walk be separate?
Nope. So everybody will start at the same time at 9 a.m., which is immediately following our opening ceremonies because they begin at 8:30. And we definitely encourage everybody to get out there early so they can find parking. We'll have overflow parking at New Realm Brewing Company on Daniel Island, but there's also street parking available. So we encourage people to come out early so that you can get your packet if you hadn't already picked it up, and be a part of the opening ceremonies. That's the emotional reminder of what this event is all about. And then the race starts right at 9 a.m. So we want people to be out there. Everybody will start, like I said, at the same time. I can already tell you our diehard runners will be lined up in the front with a line of little kids, including my own, that always somehow find their way through people's legs to get up to the front. Which it's such a cute thing when you look at this start line to see all these people that are so serious, and then you see all these little kids with their red, white, and blue on, or their 9/11 Heroes Run shirt on, that are excited to run through this tunnel of cadets with the flags. If you think about it, it's like a football game, when your team comes to run out on the field. And after the opening ceremonies with these emotional stories and the bagpipers playing Amazing Grace and the national anthem, you're motivated, you're pumped, and to run through a tunnel like that and get that feeling that you have, and and also to finish through that same tunnel of American flags, it's the perfect reminder of what this event is all about. And yeah, like you asked, it will all start at 9 a.m. So if you are one of the people coming out with a stroller that's just there to support the cause, we definitely encourage you to not be right in the front so that you don't get trampled when everybody goes to take off. Right. But yeah, we want anybody and everybody to register, come out there and be a part of it. Remember what this is about. We're actually, like I said earlier, this is the first time our race will fall on 9/11. It's the 20th anniversary. There's so many local families that were impacted by 9/11, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. So when they are a part of this event and they see the community come together, and 20 years later in Charleston, South Carolina, to remember what happened that day, I think it makes them feel that we have not forgotten, that we've honored that vow to never forget. And then when our first responders are out there and they see the community come together and show their appreciation for their service, they don't get a thank you often enough. They won't ask for one. But I think that they definitely deserve one.
And let me ask you, obviously, registration-wise, how many participants have signed up thus far?
So we have over 800 people registered right now, which is a little bit down from where we were at this point in 2019, but coming off of a virtual year with the pandemic, we expected numbers to not be quite as high as what we were used to. But this is about typical for where we were every other year prior. I anticipate we'll have at least 1,000 people registered by the time we get to race day. We still have over a week. Right. So there's plenty of time. And I know with outdoor events, a lot of people tend to wait until the last minute to get signed up because they want to see what the weather's doing, making sure we don't have a named storm coming our way. We have experienced that before. Yes. There were 2 years where we had that hurdle to jump over. But, a lot of people want to wait to the last minute, and we definitely understand that. But we want people to get signed up as soon as possible. Our T-shirt orders are already being sent in based on where we're at registration-wise. So the sooner they can get registered, the better. That way we can make sure that they've got a shirt in their size on race weekend. And like I said, online registration's open through September 9th, and then we'll do walk-up registration the day before and the day of. But get signed up as soon as you can. Make your commitment to honor those that we lost on 9/11, and also to say thank you to those that serve, and make an impact on your local community.
Absolutely. Well, Theresa Faircloth with the 9/11 Heroes Run, Charleston, thank you for your time. And again, welcome to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome.